Hey, so welcome everyone, all 212 participants who are joining us live at the moment on Zoom for this Solstice workshop. And also, if you're watching this as a recording, hello to you as well, whether you're going to do this workshop later on or whether you're doing it in the future. It's great to have so many people involved. So my name's Nikki Shaill. I'm here in Brighton by the English seaside at the moment, and it's 4 p.m. here, so we've come towards the end of the shortest day. The sun has set already out in the sky and it's been raining all day, so it's lovely to feel nice and cozy inside and ready to have some creative time together. So when Sketchbook Project invited me to do this workshop on the solstice, I was really excited. It's such a pleasure and a delight to be doing this at the end of the year. And also thank you so much for joining us. It's really exciting to have so many people from all around the world joining in to do some solstice sketching. So well done for taking time out of this busy, hectic time that you might be having to kind of gift yourself a little bit of time to breathe, to draw, to sketch, and to celebrate and mark the solstice in a creative way. And that's what we're going to be doing over the next hour and a half. Like I said before, if you can't stay for the whole session, of course, do feel free to go. But I hope that you will stay, or you can always listen to the whole recording if you do need to go. So if you've got any questions during the session live, do feel free to pop them in the chat, and Autumn and myself will kind of hope to get back to you on that. But otherwise, I will move through at a pace that I hope is kind of dynamic and fun, but also, at a pace where you'll be able to kind of keep up with the exercises. But today, because it is solstice, I really do want this to be quite a meditative experience, which is going to really help you just take some time for yourself to pause, to have some time for reflection, and also some time for creative expression. So like I say, my name's Nikki, and I'm actually going to share the screen now just to tell you a little bit more about myself and a bit about the sketchbook that I did earlier this year for the Sketchbook Project. Here's my sketchbook that I submitted to Brooklyn Art Library earlier this year. It was the first sketchbook I'd actually sent. I visited the library back in 2012, I think it was, and looked through all the amazing sketchbooks and thought one day I want to submit. And then last year in November, in 2019, for my birthday, my partner gifted me a sketchbook. And it took me until summer of this year to complete it. So anyone who is still kind of not doing it, I'd say it's never too late. And I decided to theme the sketchbook on Brighton and where I live. So I'm going to show you a little video now. This is just a little quick tour through my sketchbook to show you a little bit about who I am as an artist and creative and the sorts of things I use. As you can see, I love colour. I decided for the sketchbook to limit myself to a kind of Bauhaus inspired red, blue, yellow with some black in there as well. And as you can see, I work quite quickly. I work in quite a loose, free way. I like to play with collage. I like to play with layering. I use lots of Poscas, brush markers. I got quite poetic as well. I got quite inspired and started writing some poetry in my sketchbook. And really it was just done around Brighton by the seaside where I live. I only moved here in March, the weekend before the UK lockdown. So I used the opportunity to take my sketchbook wherever I went. I was sketching the architecture, I was sketching outdoors a lot. It's lovely to look back on this now actually and sort of remember how sunny it often was. And as you can see from this, lots of loose lines, and I wasn't too precious with my sketchbook. I tended to work directly in it quite a lot. I stuck things in and I just kind of went quite bold and free with it. So I'm hoping that today you'll be able to create some artwork that might go into your sketchbook to submit, but equally it might just be that it's things that might be backgrounds for artwork. You might end up creating something which you're going to then draw over or collage into your final sketchbook, or today you might just be drawing for the process and for the fun of it. So just to let you know a little bit about me before we begin, here I am in February back in London when I first launched my creative company Originary Arts, and I got to doodle all over the window of my local art shop. And then the other picture is me doodling in a window in Brighton. So I really love to work quite big. So sometimes working the sketchbook's tricky, but I still like to be quite loose with my drawings. Here's an example of some of the different styles and different mediums I like to use. And here's some pictures of when I could run in-person workshops, which I love doing. So that's why it's so wonderful to have lots of people joining in today, because for the past 20 years, I've run lots of different creative workshops in all sorts of places. And this is what it's usually like. It's usually, here's Tate Modern, filled with people all together. And I can't wait to hopefully get back to this soon. It's time for us all together to start creating. And I'm going to give you some, I think if we think of them as experiments or creative challenges rather than exercises, I hope that they're things which you can have fun with, that you can play around with and maybe incorporate into your own more developed artworks after this workshop. So because it's the solstice, I really wanted to take inspiration from nature. So we're going to be looking at 4 different exercises, each inspired by a different one of the elements. So we're going to work our way through air, fire, earth and water. And we're going to start with air. So I don't know about you, but I've been feeling quite stressed today, the last few weeks, sometimes quite tired, quite emotional. And I think this first exercise is hopefully going to kind of help us all kind of ground ourselves as we start the workshop. And we're going to do some breathing exercises, and we're going to do some drawing with breath. So we're going to literally draw our breath. So if everyone's ready, what you'll need for this first exercise is a piece of paper. It can be as big or small as you like. For this, it's probably good to not work teeny tiny, but you can as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to literally draw our breath. So we're going to take inspiration for this air-inspired exercise to draw something inspired by the Zen Buddhist concept of the Enzo. So this is some examples on the screen of Enzo. So this is a circle, one continuous, beautiful, artistic inked circle that's been created in one complete continuous gesture. And the idea of the Enzo is that you start on the breath in, and then you finish on the breath out. So the challenge of this exercise, or drawing invitation, is going to be, we're going to draw some circles, but we're going to draw them in one breath in and one breath out and complete the circle. Now, if you've not done this before, it might take a little bit of practice. It might feel a little bit strange, but it's a really nice way to kind of just become aware of your breath, to take some nice deep breaths and to just kind of ground yourself and relax into this workshop. So I'd suggest you can use anything you want, but if you do have a felt tip marker or a brush marker, that might be easier than a pencil. But if you've got a pencil or a pen or charcoal, you can really use whatever you want for this. So what we're going to do is we're going to practice doing this, and we're going to do 10 of these. So we're going to do 10 of these circles. And like I say, you might want to kind of practice with how big you do them, what size, but we're going to do it so that we end up filling a page, whatever size, or fill several pages with just 10 different circles. And we're going to do it as we inhale, we'll draw around to the top, and as we exhale, we'll go to the bottom. Okay, so we're going to be doing this for 10 breaths, and I'm aware that some people will have different length breaths. So yeah, we'll just kind of continue, and we'll finish when I think everyone's done it. Okay. When you've finished a circle, just take a moment to look at it. And if it's not a perfect circle, that's absolutely fine. It's more about being mindful of the action of just becoming aware of your breath and controlling your breath as you take a nice deep breath in as you go around, and then complete the circle in one gesture. Feel free just to take some nice deep breaths as you finish. I hope you've got 10 circles. If you've not, just take your time to do 10 circles. So here are my 10 circles. As you can see, none of them are perfect circles, but I think drawing with breath can really help us, particularly at the beginning of a workshop. I certainly feel, you can probably hear it in my voice, calmer now, more kind of centered, talking slower, and just starting to connect together my hand, the page, and just taking a moment to take a breath and just celebrate. If there's any time that I've been thankful for breathing and the ability to inhale and exhale, it's been this year. So thank you for the element of air and breath. And it's interesting to think about when we think about that kind of activity of drawing breath, which you could do at the start of sitting down to create any time really. It could be something you build into your drawing and artistic practice just to kind of center you and just to kind of ground you. It's interesting to think about the Latin kind of derivative of inspiration. It is about taking breath in. So hopefully as we've kind of taken those nice deep breaths at the beginning, we've kind of, we're ready to feel inspired and ready for the next exercise. So we're gonna, and by the way, if you're interested in looking more at drawing with your breath exercises, I can recommend someone called Tom Granger, who does a lot about the art of breathing. And then also, do look at the Zen Buddhist Enzo, and there's some beautiful videos available online to see how you can do that really simple but effective exercise. But now that we've taken our breath, we can use our imagination a little bit and get quite playful with this exercise. So I thought we'd take inspiration, seeing as it is the solstice, from the lovely sun. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking, as you can see in the video, I'm going to challenge you, I'm going to put some music on, and we're going to see how many different kinds of suns we can create. So with your circles, I'm going to challenge you to transform them into different suns. Some might have faces, some might be more abstract, some might be scientific if you're someone that knows a lot about the sun. So using the circles, transform them. You can use different colors if you want, you can use different materials, but take these circles and transform them into as many different suns as you can within the time. I'm going to give us, I think we're going to have just 5 minutes to do this exercise. So we're going to turn, like you can see on the slide, we're going to turn our circles into suns, and don't worry too much if some of them are quite similar, if some of them look quite silly. It's just an exercise that we're going to celebrate the sun. Okay, so 5 minutes to complete your suns, starting now. If you just joined in, don't worry, we've just got a few minutes left of this exercise and you can catch up with the next one. So yeah, just sit tight for now. Okay, we've got 2 minutes left for this experiment in sun drawing. If you've already done 10 suns, just keep going, see how many you can do in the time. "30 seconds left for this activity. Okay, just 10 more seconds. See if you can complete at least 1 or 2 more suns. Okay, I think I did 15. If anyone did more than that, feel free to say in the chat how many suns you did. It's not a competition, but yeah, it's quite nice sometimes to kind of just see how much you can do quite instinctively. So hopefully you have filled your page with glorious sunbursts of all different types. I quite like doing an exercise like this where I'll draw circles all over a page and then draw as many faces as I can. And even if sometimes the faces start to look quite similar, it might sometimes be that there's just 1 or 2 faces, or sometimes I'll turn the kind of squiggles into different animals or shapes. Sometimes there's just a few that will surprise me. I might have revealed a slightly different drawing style or a slightly different face than I normally would, and then I'll take that and I'll start developing that in another page of my sketchbook, and a character might evolve out of that, and it kind of loosens up your drawing style and shows you what you can do when you're not thinking and you're just being bold. And that's what I really want us all to do today, to just be able to play, to be able to enjoy having fun with mark making and remove that judgment, knowing that we don't have to show each other. It'd be lovely if you do want to share, by the way, anything that you're drawing during or after the workshop, and tag Originary Arts and tag the Sketchbook Project, but there's absolutely no obligation to share. So you're really free to just have fun and not worry about the results of what you're drawing. Okay, so hopefully now that we've drawn many suns, we're feeling really nicely warmed up and loosened up. And if we're not, then I hope that the next element is going to really help us kind of embrace drawing in the flow and kind of loosen us up. So you might want to change what you're drawing with now, because we're going to be going to water. So if you do want to draw in a kind of watery color, whether that's a blue or a green or a black or whatever color is that you associate with water, you can, but equally use whatever drawing materials you want now. You might want to change it up with some charcoal or some crayon. It's up to you. Or you want to see my suns, someone says. Okay, here we go. These are my suns. Lots of faces, lots and lots of faces. There we go. So we're going to go to the next element, water. If you do have a little glass of water or a drink with you, now is as good a time as any to have a little drink. So for this next exercise, or this next drawing experiment, this is inspired by something that I did within my workshop quite a lot, because I was drawing by the seaside. I was sat on the beach drawing from observation, the sea and the waves. Now, it's quite a challenge because we see so much art that's inspired by the sea, by rivers, by lakes, and we can feel like it's a little bit of a cliche sometimes. How do you depict the ocean and kind of do it justice? But I really like the challenge personally of drawing things in movement, whether that's a dancer, whether that's a person walking, or whether that's even vibrations from music. I really like the challenge of trying to capture movement and motion in my drawing, and to kind of free me up to create patterns or shapes. And as you can see, this is me doing this exercise we're about to do earlier. And you can see it's just kind of building up layers. So what we're going to do for this little drawing experiment is, obviously, sadly, we can't all be sat together by the sea or by the ocean or a lake right now. So I've actually got a recording I'm going to play and see from yesterday. Hopefully, I'm going to leave the sound on, but if the sound comes across on your system really harshly, do feel free to mute it for the duration of the 3 minutes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that video clip of Brighton Sea, and I'm going to invite you to try and capture the waves, the motion, the reflection of what you see and that element of water, filling a page of your sketchbook, or filling a page of paper with these kind of lines. Now, as we start this exercise, I think it's really nice to think about Paul Klee's quote of, a line is just a dot taking a walk, or a drawing is a line taking a walk. There's different kind of paraphrases. But here I almost want you to take your line for a swim. So I want you to be really free to just let your pen or your pencil, your charcoal, whatever you're using, to really move it around the page. And you might want to follow one particular wave movement, or you might want to just let your be actually just watching what you see on the screen and not even looking at what you're drawing. So doing that very much intuitive drawing, just following around the movement. And I suggest, like I have here, you might want to change what you're using halfway through to like layer up several different waves and movements. You might want to actually hold 2 pens at once, and almost then you're kind of working. You might want to be that you're holding 2 pens at once, and therefore you can kind of be doubling up on your wave drawing. You might want to be holding whatever you're holding, maybe hold it towards the end of the utensil more once we get started, because that way it will help you loosen up, or use your whole elbow. So this is going to be a lovely flowing exercise, and it's going to be 3 minutes. So I'm going to play the video. And as I say, don't worry about what the end result's going to be. It's just a lovely chance to fill your page with these lovely loose flowing lines celebrating water. And this might end up becoming a background, or it could end up being some collage material. Okay, so I'm going to play this video now. And like I say, once I start, just draw from the duration. And if you want to kind of keep focused on the screen and just let your hand really enjoy going for a swim. We've drawn quite a lot from observation now, as well as a little bit from imagination. The next exercise is going to be very much imaginative drawing. So we're going to take the inspiration. Here is a picture of Stonehenge, the wonderful monument in England that lots of people would usually travel to on the solstices to celebrate that moment. It's an ancient monument that's been built around the idea of the sun, and it's, yeah, a really mystical, magical monument. Here's some more pictures of those structures, just to remind you what it's like. I don't know if anyone's visited and been there. I'm sure some people have, but I really wanted us to now use our imagination to create our own special solstice design for a solstice monument. So imagine now you're kind of an architect, you're someone that could be creating your own monument, whether that would be in a desert, a field, maybe in the middle of the sea. I've got another photo here that's the 7 Magic Mountains in Nevada, which I haven't had the pleasure of seeing for myself. Some of you here I know in the workshop are from LA, and so maybe you have seen it. But it's this idea, again, of kind of these beautiful structures of geometric, organic shapes stacked on top of each other, balanced. And what I did in summer was I did actually fill my sketchbook with this idea of taking building blocks of shapes and, like a child, literally playing with those building blocks, very much inspired by Bauhaus, the idea of playing with them to make some structures. Here's another example of a design, the 4 Elements by Alexander Calder in Stockholm. And this is celebrating the 4 elements. I'll let you look and see if you can figure out which element is which. But here's some examples from my sketchbooks where I've taken this idea of taking really simple shapes, whether that's half circles, whether that's squares, whether it's kind of organic shapes. It doesn't have to be very straight lines, but the idea of just giving myself the challenge of using these shapes and stacking them on top of each other like building blocks to create pattern designs. And here's another example, and this is actually a design I ended up doing in a window in Brighton earlier this year in a children's shop. But I was literally just the same way you would as a child, kind of building blocks. I was just taking those structures and I was making these designs. So I thought it might be fun for your next experiment to fill a page like this. So I'm going to give a little bit longer for this one. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to have a play. You can change colors, or you could do it all in monochrome if you wanted to. You could shade them in, or you could keep them outlined. But the idea is that you're just going to be seeing how many different combinations you might shape and build. So yeah, I'm going to give you 10 minutes now to fill your page with some of those different elements and create a kind of fantastical design for what monuments you'd like to see built in a mystical, magical place for solstice. Now, I know some of you were saying that the music wasn't great earlier, so I'm not going to put the music on yet, but I'm going to say that, yeah, it's up to you whether you want to draw in quiet or if you want to put on your own music in the background, then feel free to, but I'm not going to share my sound because I think some of you said the volume was a little bit tricky. How's everyone getting on? I'll give you a little peek of what I've been doing so far. Very colourful. And I should say, as you're doing this, don't worry about, it's a fantastical structure you're building. It's a magical solstice monument. So don't worry about, you're not going to have to be the one to build it. So if there's some balance issues, don't worry about it. As long as you think it looks good, that's the main thing. We're going to carry on with this exercise for 3 minutes more now. I'm really excited to hopefully on social media see some of your artwork. I can't wait to see some of the creations that you've been making during this workshop. So please do share them. Do tag Originary Arts and Sketchbook Project as well, of course. We would love to see what you've made. Okay, just 30 more seconds now. Ten seconds left of this. I'm having too much fun now. I don't want to stop. I want to fill the whole page. Okay. Okay, pens and pencils and charcoal down. As I say, I wish I could see what everyone listening and joining in has been drawing. Here is my crammed full monument to celebrate Solstice. I'd love to see this turned into a sculpture. And what's nice about this activity, will we have a chance for a 5-minute break? Yes, we will. There'll be a chance just next to gather collage materials before we go into the collage bit. So yeah, if you do want to take a break, now is a great chance to go chop up your tea, get some water. The recording of this webinar is available. Some people will be watching the recording right now, but yeah, don't worry if you do miss and you can rewatch. But yeah, this is mine, and I hope you had fun with that. I think it does remind me of being a child, kind of, that you can really get into it quite quickly. You can kind of keep going as long as you want and create these structures. And I think as long as you yeah, it can be quite mesmerizing, and I found it's a really nice way to play with shape and design. And sometimes I've taken even just little sections and turned them into a print, or sometimes they've been inspiration to sculpt something with polymer clay. So yeah, it's a nice way you can create 3D things from these designs, but it's a really nice way, again, that you can almost, you could use it as the background to maybe then do other drawings on top of, if you were struggling with the blank page in your sketchbook. If you do want to take a break, now is a good moment too, but we'll carry on and I'll introduce the next exercise as well. So we are going to do collage in a little bit, but we're going to actually, we have got one more earth-based, nature-based exercise which I want to do with you. So the workshop is going to go on for another 35 minutes, so it's an hour and a half long. So for this next exercise, this is going to be just a quick bit of observational drawing now, because I really want us to celebrate nature. And I think everyone hopefully at this workshop has got something to hand, something that represents nature that we're going to do some observational drawing from. I've got some rosemary here, just a twig of rosemary from my kitchen. That can be your nature. Or it might be something like some flowers or a house plant. Got my little Christmas cactus here. So for this next exercise, if you can go grab something now, or you might be able to look out the window and see a tree. Anything will do really. It could even be a vegetable from your kitchen, or a piece of fruit. Yeah, like I say, a house plant. So as long as you've got something that represents nature that you're going to draw with. And I'm going to give you a few options of how you might want to use this for this next drawing exercise. So as you can see on the screen, some of these drawings, I didn't do the Matisse artwork, obviously. Some of these drawings have been done using contour drawing. So I'm going to show you in my sketchbook what I've done with the rosemary. Hopefully you can see. So I've basically just taken some time to really mindfully look at the rosemary. Now, some of these were actually done directly from shadows. So if you've got a direct light source and you've got something that's quite small you want to draw, you can literally hold it above your page. And then I've traced around the shadows of what I'm drawing. So on the screen, you can see I did this with seaweed back in summer, and I was on the beach with a direct sunshine, and I was holding bits of dried seaweed and drawing around the shadows, around the shapes. Another thing I've done in this drawing is I've literally done some observational drawing. So I've just put my rosemary on the page, or looked up at it, and I've just really, really mindfully gone around every stem. So sometimes when we're drawing nature, whether that's a whole tree or a plant, it's really easy for our brains to just go into that mode of, this is what a tree looks like, this is what a leaf looks like. But I want, for this next little challenge, I just want us to spend a bit of time really, really looking, really engaging with the wonderful intricacy that is a flower, that is a herb, that is a plant. And I want you to just really focus in, like you're going to be, whether you're tracing the shadow or whether you're doing a contour drawing from looking, I want you to really take time to draw around the shape, the actual shape, and draw some of the silhouette or the shadow of that thing. So we're going to do that now. We're going to spend just 5 minutes. So it's something that obviously, if you're going to do mindfully, you might want to take a lot longer, but we're just going to have 5 minutes together now of doing that. Whether that's you're looking at a plant, or whether that's you've got something that you can hold, maybe something quite seasonal, like a piece of holly or a piece of pine from your tree, or even a bit of mistletoe would be really good. So feel free to work at whatever scale and whatever materials you want, but really do take time to really draw what you see, not what you think you see. And then after this, we're going to move on to our collage. even as I'm drawing this rosemary now, my brain is trying to cheat and sort of not even like not looking, but you have to keep bringing yourself back and look again and think, okay, what is that next line? What really does the rosemary look like? And once you've kind of done one of those drawings, you might want to change material and just keep layering up more and more studies following around the outlines until you've filled your page with these lovely silhouetted or contour line drawings. Just one more minute. Keep looking. And 10 seconds more. Okay. I don't know about you, but I could spend a really long time doing that. I think even something really simple like a sprig of rosemary, once you start really looking at the intricacy and trying to capture the shape and the texture and the spikiness and the way that the different parts overlap and intertwine, it's more complex than you think. So ideally that would be a longer exercise and experiment to do. But I hope you've enjoyed just kind of taking even that little bit of time to really focus on part of nature, which what better time than the solstice to do. So we're going to change up a little bit now for the final part of the workshop, and we're going to do a collage. So as I said at the start, if you haven't yet got something, it doesn't have to be anything complex. I've just got for my collaging a real mix of kind of free papers and magazines and a few postcards and things. So even if you just got one newspaper or one magazine, that's absolutely fine. So I really love working with collage, and I've done quite a few workshops with friends such as Surrey Art School, who run this really lovely workshop, which was not just collaging, but also using collage to kind of reveal some emotions and help you to kind of reflect. So what we're going to do now is a little bit of a kind of reflective exercise, and thinking back to the last 6 months. So thinking back from the summer solstice about the last 6 months, and then we're going to think about looking forward as the shortest day has passed, looking forward, thinking about the future and the next 6 months. And I'm going to show you some examples of how I did this exercise to kind of explain a little bit better of what to do. But I just want you to know, when you're looking through, we're going to have just sort of, about 25 minutes or so to do this, but it's something you might want to continue and do when you've got more time. But basically, you'll just be kind of picking up any magazine, and I want you to be thinking about both things, and basically be flicking through, and just really, without thinking too hard or without trying to analyze, just anything that kind of like speaks out to you, just tear it out and then make a pile. So you're going to be making 2 piles of things. One thing that when you look at it, it might be a color or it might be a word. I've just picked out the word slow. And just kind of pop in a pile of things that, you know, how you're currently feeling, or how you have kind of been feeling, or things that represent the last 6 months of the year, and things that kind of maybe you look at and they think, oh yeah, that's what I want for next year. That brings me hope. Or even just things that you really like the color of. So for example, I'm on this page and I just really love this color. I'm going to put that in my kind of future pile. So you just want to be going through, and we're just going to spend 10 minutes or so basically going through, pulling things out. You can cut, you can tear. It can be really random things that you don't even know why, like, oh, I like that color, I like that texture. Just make piles of as many things as you want. And then after 10 minutes of doing that, we're going to look at them and put them in a collage. I'll just share the screen just before we start, to give you a little bit of a better idea of how this might work. It'll be quite personal. So for example, this was all of the things I pulled out of the magazines for when I was thinking about the future, about the next 6 months. And there were quite a lot of words, there were quite a lot of bright colors, quite a lot of pictures of the sea. And then equally, these were the pictures and the kind of images I pulled out for looking back at the last 6 months. And kind of, I'm still not quite sure what it means because I only did it earlier, but there's these weird crustacean beetle creatures. And I noticed that it's all kind of monochrome, which I sort of was doing quite unconsciously, and quite a lot of spiky shapes and textures. So I haven't yet had a time to really look at what this might mean, but basically I tore everything out into 2 piles and then I arranged it. And then after 10 minutes, we'll come back together. And this is an example of different ways that you might want to then kind of arrange those things. But the first step we're going to be doing is, literally go through the magazines. We're going to tear stuff out. And after a few minutes, I'll kind of call us back together to kind of look at them and think about how we might then turn those into artworks. I am going to try and put some music on again, but equally, if you'd rather play your own music and mute me, just know that we're going to be working on this, looking through until 1/4 past, and then we'll come back together for the next step. if you found that you've been focused as you've been going through kind of with your mindset, thinking about things of one or the other, so maybe more future than past, maybe now's a good time to, yeah, sort of make sure you've got kind of piles for both. So we're just going to take another minute. If there's any more images you want to pull out, if you've got distracted and you've started reading an article, then just keep tearing things. Try again not to think too much. Okay, and I think just another 30 seconds if you still want to pull out anything else, anything that kind of just instinctually think, yeah, I identify with that, something about the last 6 months or so, and oh yeah, that's something that I want to kind of speak to me for the future. That's, you know, I like this appeals to me, this is something. Just keep doing it really unconsciously. Try not to analyze what you're doing or what you're making. Just kind of put them in 2 piles without even necessarily editing. And then hopefully you've got 2 piles with at least a few different things in. I don't know about you, but I have a big pile of old magazines and papers and sort of scraps that I collect at home to work from. So it's great when I do collage because it's a real chance to use them and make me glad I've kept them. But I hope that even if you were working from just one magazine, that there were kind of strange random words or different colours that you might have been able to pick out. So the next step, and this is just the final step, this is something you can carry on doing, but just the next step will be to look at those 2 piles. So take say your past pile, and then you want to just kind of spread it out and have a look at all the things that you've torn out and just look at whether you can kind of connect anything or notice any connections. For me, I'm going to share my screen again. to show you, but for me it was really noticeable when I looked at my collage, looking back at just how kind of real monochrome that I'd been pulling out, and quite spiky images. So I kind of arranged these on the page in this way and sort of thought, okay, that's interesting. And I tore some of them up to kind of reflect those spiky images. And then I started to play around, and these are the words, some of the words I pulled out. And I created almost like a word art, almost like beat poetry. I arranged them in this way to try and create a poem. So that's one thing you might want to do now that you've got your piles. If you've got lots of text, you might want to do it like that. Or you might just want to be quite selective. You might want to pull out just a few of the key images from both sets, and create a little, almost like a graphic representation. And this is something that you might want to stick down, or you might want to come back to it later, but you can kind of play around, moving things around the page, selecting images that you think are interesting together, and they can start to say something really. So when I started doing this exercise earlier, I didn't really, I guess, even fully comprehend the kind of feelings, but I'd cut out this really angry mouth and this phrase over it and all of these spiky images, and I sort of look at that image I created on the left, and I think, yeah, that kind of does sum up how I was feeling at the worst points of the last 6 months, not all the time, but then when I looked to what I'd pulled out in this new beginnings image, I could start to see this, this kind of unconscious yearning for more color, and this, I pulled up this imagery with the butterfly wings and kind of own movement and desire for freedom. So without kind of going too into kind of over analytical, it's just nice to sort of pull out things and kind of create these two representations. And I find making collages like this on specific points of the year when we can reflect, and using art to kind of tap into that, it can be really useful as a visual journal. And I feel like these could make some really interesting, if you were to do these kind of regularly in a sketchbook, it can make a really interesting journal to kind of just check in and see how you're feeling. So for the last few minutes of the workshop, I'm going to just let you continue to start to put together these collages. This is just another example I'm sharing of a way that I thought, you could equally use the text if you've got lots of text, and just kind of show this was obviously what I was thinking about the last 6 months. Or you could just literally kind of arrange it on the page and make a collage journal like that. So we're heading towards the end now. And I think, I hope you enjoy that. And I think Solstice is a really good time. So if you want to, we're going to spend just another sort of 5 minutes maybe to start doing that. But this is something you could take a lot longer after this workshop to kind of continue. But if you want to spend another 5 minutes just to start arranging those within the time, and then we're going to end the workshop. And if you've got any questions at the end or now, feel free to pop them in the chat. So just take some time now. I'm going to put a little bit more music on, and we'll use the rest of the workshop time for you to start to stick down and start to arrange some of your collages. And like I say, if you do have to go now, or if you're listening to this recording, it would be so wonderful to see some of the collages, some of the expressive drawings and experiments you've been doing. So please do tag at Originary Arts and at the Sketchbook Project on Instagram or whatever platform you use. It would be really nice to see some of the artwork that you've made. We'd love to see it. And see what you've created, or see what maybe doing some of this inspires for you to go on and create. So Twitter, obviously, if you're a Twitter user, you can share it on Twitter as well, or Facebook, and you should have all the details having booked at least how to tag Sketchbook Project, and to find us, we're at Originary Arts on Instagram, and also Originary Arts on Facebook too. My Instagram is at ORIGINARYARTS, Originary Arts. And if people are having to leave now, then yeah, happy solstice, happy festive season. I hope that you've really enjoyed taking this time out for yourself. It's so important to gift yourself some time to create. I'm just putting the social media in the chat. It's at the Sketchbook Project and at Originary Arts, if that's where you want to find us online. There's so many lovely comments in the chat. It's really nice to hear that everyone's found this fun and enjoyable or relaxing or a little bit of inspiration. And there's questions saying, will the Sketchbook Project be doing more things like this? Yes, there's small talk series and workshops. Absolutely. Keep checking back at the Sketchbook Project. Join the mailing list and the newsletter. I'm sure there'll be many more things like this to do together in 2021. If you want to just take a couple more minutes now, and of course you're free to continue on after this. If you're in the collage zone, you can continue. If you don't have to go and do anything else, you can continue crafting for the rest of the solstice if you want to. Those of you asking about Facebook, just if you search for the Sketchbook Project and Originary Arts, then hopefully you'll find us on Facebook and all the other platforms. Or if you want to look at our websites as well, then we've got all the links to our social media on there. And like I say, yeah, do share your work. Obviously, we've been doing quite personal things today, like the collage can feel quite revealing. So don't feel like you have to share it. But if you do want to share any of the things you've created today, it'd be lovely to see each other as we've all joined together. I know some of you are carrying on still busy, but we're going to draw the workshop to a close now. So I'm going to ring a little bell to signal the end of our solstice time together. And I don't know about you, but I definitely feel more peaceful, more grounded, relaxed, having worked through those drawing exercises. And it's been so amazing to have so many of you participating in this. So yeah, happy solstice. It would be yeah, lovely to see some of your work, and hopefully I know I'll definitely be doing another sketchbook for the Sketchbook Project to send in for next year. So I'd love to see, yeah, any of yours as well that you've been working on. It's always so lovely to feel connected online or otherwise to other creatives. So yeah, thank you so much for that, and thank you so much to Autumn and the Sketchbook Project and Book Club Library team for inviting me to do this. And yeah, if you do want to find out about any more of my work, then originary.co.uk. You can see other upcoming workshops we're doing, or you can see some more of my own personal work. Yeah, that's the end of the session.